Almost any Saturday afternoon in England, the whole cult of going to the soccer match has become part of life. But in recent years, violence, a rather sinister and unpleasant street violence and football ground violence, has reared its unpleasant and increasingly dangerous head. Gone are the days of easy J.B. Priestley, happy bobbies controlling cheering crowds. Not cheering now, but dangerous and vicious. Tribal wars. Police intervention. Injury to players, injuries to spectators. Blood, wounds. And all this part, allegedly, of sport. In Ireland a few years ago, we had a very small intimation of what might happen when trouble broke out at a match in Croke Park. But fortunately, that was an isolated incident. Or so we thought. More and more sociological attention has been paid to this increasingly dangerous phenomenon. In London, we talked to Paul Harrison of the magazine New Society.
Well, there are two different types of supporters who regularly go to matches, particularly to away matches. There's a very small group of dedicated sadists who definitely go there for one reason only, and that is for the violence, and are not very interested in the football. I met one guy of this type in Cardiff in the match that I covered for the New Society article. He was 26, which is very old by soccer hooligan standards. And he was obviously a man who derived a great deal of almost sexual pleasure out of sadism. He looked forward to the match the night before. He couldn't sleep with anticipation of it. He goes all over the country looking for this type of thing. And he goes all over Cardiff, even during the weekdays, looking for trouble and trying to provoke fights. You only need one or two people of that kind to start off an incident. The second type of supporter is a fanatical loyalist who is devoted to his team and reacts to any insult with offended pride and often with violence. So that type of person will respond to an incident started by the sadist. And after that, the other side react as a whole, and the process just keeps going until both sides are exhausted. There's a certain deal of truth in the kind of conventional explanations of why this happened. It may have something to do with frustration at home or at work. Most of these boys are unskilled workers or semi-skilled workers. Their wages are not low, but they're not marvelous either. They've got few prospects. That most of them actually live at home with their parents. So for a lot of the time during the week, they may be subjected to a lot of petty restrictions from their parents. And when the weekend comes, they just let all this pent-up frustration out. In historical terms, it's quite a natural and frequent thing. The most outstanding example of it was in ancient Rome, where there were two sides supporting the different chariot stables, the Greens and the Blues. On one occasion, the Blues massacred 3,000 Greens, and on another time, riots between the two sides, which were eventually put down by the army, ended with 30,000 people dead, and the Constantinople, the capital of the Eastern Empire, in ruins. So I sometimes wonder whether we're not making a lot of fuss about a very insignificant thing in this country, and perhaps we take small-scale violence too seriously. It does matter, of course, if innocent people get hurt, and it does matter if people are seriously injured, but there's been very little of that in the soccer hooliganism in this country. So I wonder whether the best solution might not be just to let them do what they want to do, namely beat each other up, and to set aside a special place after the match where the dedicated hooligans can go and beat each other up to their heart's content. There's a society of people who reenact battles of the Civil War, and they dress up in the costumes and they go to the battlefields, and they use pretty serious weapons there. often they're knocked unconscious and sustain serious wounds, or they break limbs and so on. The police are standing by and the ambulances are standing by just in case. But the police don't intervene. This is regarded as legal. And yet when soccer hooligans do it, it's regarded as illegal. I wonder whether a similar thing to this Civil War group over here shouldn't be set up for soccer hooligans.
I'm not so sure if Paul Harrison's analysis, almost in Freudian terms, of violence in England has any application here. Certainly, when the fans arrive at Euston Station in Dublin from Galway, they come on a sort of an annual or more than once a year beano, a happy outing to Dublin, epitomised by that old phrase, up for the match. And there's nothing harmful about it. And if Heffo's army has become a cant word in Dublin over the past few weeks, it may well be that this is simply an expression of that age-old and rather joking feud between the Culchies and the Jackeens, and that essentially it's pretty harmless. At least they seem to be enjoying themselves. Even the Dublin CIE employees who greet them at the station, and the Jacks marching past the GPO. Something of a St. Patrick's Day jollity, although this is all Ireland. Last Saturday afternoon. The Dubs, they marched from Marino, Finglas, from all over the city. But over in England, there's a rather more tense and brittle atmosphere about the soccer crowds, but not back here. Happy enough. The Blues, the Dubs, the Jacks. They don't exactly dress up in medieval uniforms either. Fairly contemporary lot, these look. Hill 16, that was a great sight. A great mass of blue. And more or less a blue sky to cheer them all up as well. Super Dubs, I like that one. And welcome home, Sam Maguire. No harm there, just a tumble. Hardly vicious. Look at that for jollity. Any moment now the match will be over. The Gardaí still holding them back. But they're winning now. Well ahead in the last 12 minutes, there wasn't any doubt about it. Not after that penalty was brilliantly saved by the Dublin goalie. That was the psychological turning point of the match. And that barrier is the turning point between all those, I would say, exuberant kids who are going to burst over it in a few seconds. Photographers rating for violence. Look at them. And here they come. But where's the violence? Right across the field. A cluster under the Hogan stand in that time-hallowed Gaelic ceremony. Curious, in a way, this match will probably bring Dublin and the country together in a way they haven't been before. It's about time, perhaps, that Dubliners identify themselves with Gaelic Ireland. Even the Boot Boys, because they're Irish too. Dublin rule okay, Boot Boys okay. Bridge Boot Boys rule. But it doesn't matter what Boot Boys, provided they behave themselves. And they did this time.
Everyone does it. They
Why?
come around the small places.
Nothing else to do.
There's nothing else to do. They hang around the corners and they come around. And then if you're just there, you just happen to be the one that they pick on.
Yeah, but you live in the same area.
It's
I mean,
not
No,
a
not
youth
really.
club stops it. Happens there as well, dances.
Happens every time.
yeah, but why don't you get involved in violence? You're living in the same area. You know?
We do, but we're not the type that go around looking for it. We go into a dance to have a dance, not to start the fight around. But it's we're all the ones to pick that most of the time.
Yeah, but why should they do it and you not do it? You're all living in the same area.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, but they probably we might do it back to get our own back, but that'd be us.
Yeah.
Can't stop it.
These children experienced violence at first hand themselves, and there is no doubt that it is there. It's endemic in every society, and there is hardly any doubt but that in Dublin, over the past 2 years, it has been on the increase. 60% of all indictable crime in Ireland over the past year has taken place, originated, in the Dublin metropolitan area, in the city. And any Dubliner or visitor will tell you that on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday nights, north of O'Connell Bridge is not the most peaceful place to be for an evening's entertainment. There were 13 murders in Dublin last year. 4 years ago, there were only 2. There is increased police activity in the centre city streets at night. More and more one is conscious of gather activity. This man came across violence at first hand. It could happen you or I. Almost certainly, crime, violence is on the increase in Ireland, but maybe it isn't entirely attributable to sport.